Cranked up and see how the week goes. It's pretty busy day. There's stuff in the news to talk about for sure. And as we get all settled in here this afternoon, kind of muggy outside as you well know, but no chance of rain. It just feels like rain. Tomorrow the chances go back up, but we're in a drier pattern. Thank goodness, because we all got things to do as we head toward fall time. AJ and I have completely gotten old together because we used to come in. I mean, it's been a while, AJ. We'd come in talking about all the wild, crazy stuff that went down over the weekend, or who knows what. Today, our first conversations were we're both sore and old and tired from all the weekend stuff. The Lord said rest on Sunday.
They did. Yeah, that's what I know. I swear I read that in the Bible as well, too.
My wife tried to tell me in the air she wanted me to slow down. I was working on a project, and I was like, well, the Lord wasn't married. He didn't have all these things he had to do. She didn't like that comment. I mean, if God had a wife, the Ten Commandments would look completely different.
Why you think God was single? Why do you think Jesus was single, right?
Of course. He's like, don't have any gods before me, except the little lady here. We all worship her.
Right.
I mean, there'd be all kinds of stuff. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy and rest.
Unless your wife says.
She tells you to do some stuff.
Thou must carry thy purse at the store.
Thou shalt not covet. But it's okay for your wife, too, because she likes to shop. I mean, it's just, we got to rethink all that. But seriously, no, the project I had to do this weekend is just baffled the missus because she can't understand the issue, but it's been bugging me the whole time. So I spent the weekend digging a 20-foot trench edge, trying to put a 12-inch corrugated pipe in there to replace the pipe that was in there, because the pipe was in there was all jacked up and clogged and bent. Somebody installed a corrugated pipe and bent the damn thing when they put it in, which means it had a crimp in it where it wasn't going to ever flow right?
Yeah, I can tell why she didn't understand.
Yeah, she didn't care.
Well,
the minute I said corrugated pipe, she drifted off into shoe shopping, and I said, I got to go rent some equipment. This your whole Sunday, you can't use the driveway. So I dug this whole thing up and got it finished right before I had to head in here today, and at least we can drive on it now. But just stupid stuff like that, it's been bothering me for 6 years. Do you have a project like that? I knew the drain was messed up. I knew one day this day would come, but we're at a point now with all the construction going on and some new stuff that it's got to get fixed, and I'm too cheap to pay somebody else to do it. So I dug it up. It was kind of fun.
Well, I'm definitely getting to the age now because I talked to Leland and said, hey, how you doing? And it's like, I need to put some salt in my yard.
Yeah, first thing out of your mouth is, what's happening, AJ? He goes, moving a little slow today. It's like, me too. I'm walking like Fred Sanford. I got a sprained ankle I fell down in the ditch at one point with my shovel and twisted my ankle, but it's all good, man. We're weekend warriors now.
Yeah.
And then AJ's we're sitting here planning to resod his whole yard.
Fun times, man.
AJ hit me with the right question. He goes, what kind of tools and things would we need to just do that? And I was like, you know what I'm going to say. AJ knew what I was going to say. I'm like, I got you, man. When you want to do it, I'll be over there.
So now I got to
tear up your whole yard.
Yeah, so now I got to do like measurements and calculations and
we'll
carry the 2 and
we'll
divide by the
3.
3.
I'll come over there and we'll nerd it out. I got to do this for my in-laws too. They've got some yard issues. You ever get to be the tractor guy? You're going to be helping your. I enjoy it though.
Yeah.
I went over when I first got I had a different tractor. I went over. Dixon calls me one day and he had ordered all this. He'd ordered all this gravel for his drive, but he didn't have any way. He wasn't going to spread it with a shovel. I think he got it there for about 5 minutes and said, let me swallow my pride and call Leland. So he did. And I was like, be right over. So he and I got out there and just we did some gravel spreading one day. It was when I first got it and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm a surgeon with that bitch now. I'm just saying. I can do some finite detail. I'm not running into trees like I was. Yeah, we got his gravel spread. I remember one line. It occurred to me today. I was actually digging it. I thought about Dixon saying this, where he said, the guy that sold me the gravel said it's self-leveling, and I don't understand that. And I was like, dude, it's just rain and gravity, man.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, good times with the crew as from time to time we do bail each other. I hope y'all had a good weekend, especially with the rain on Saturday got out of here pretty quickly. It wasn't too bad, and it could have been worse. And again, a drier pattern for all of us that are trying to knock these things out. I've got a goal that by the time that first October air moves in here, I got no weekend projects. I mean, it's done. I'm just chilling and trying to enjoy life. in my favorite part of the year. So maybe some of y'all are on the same path. Okay, let's start with. I'm going to start with the shooting out in Idaho. I've been to Twin Falls before. Just drove through there one time out of curiosity. It's near part of the West where I love to go travel. We were staying very near this town during the trip, but we didn't venture over there. Nice little town, big old Mormon church in the middle of it, and so we saw the news this weekend of an attempted mass shooting. And I guess by the technical definition, it's a mass shooting when more than two people get shot. This guy, as you by now know, opened fire oddly. And we don't know much about the shooter, the original shooter. It's because of the hero the story emerged. And that narrative took over. And then the media didn't have what they needed to exploit the story. So they're moved back onto socialism and trends and trannies. And so here's in Twin Falls, Idaho. Dude has an AR style rifle and he shoots into a Tesla. There were two people in the Tesla. He just killed both of them. It's murky right now as to whether this hero shooter, Jordan Salinas, is actually took the shooter out. We know he engaged the shooter. There's some reporting that the shooter killed himself with his own gun after he got engaged. Either way, Jordan brought an end to this thing by confronting the shooter, as we've talked about for years, every time there's one of these incidents. And the thing about him is when the reports were coming across, there was a clear image of the shooter, and he seemed young. He was clearly carrying an AR, wearing a black T-shirt. Then there was another image of a guy with a pistol, and he was in a shooter's position. He had his butt down, front leg forward, using both eyes, arms locked, level. Everything about his posture showed me this dude's highly trained. I mean, he was, and there was video of it. And so the internet being as stupid as it is, most of the stuff on there is just stupid and incorrect. Most of it is stupid and incorrect. You should assume that when you're reading stuff. Started making him the shooter. And then for a minute, there were two shooters. It was clear to anybody with common sense that this guy was engaging the shooter. And that's what it turned out to be. And then it turns out this Jordan Salinas has been encouraging people to train on their weapons for years. And he puts up training videos. This guy was,
have you seen his video?
Dude, he was in the moment. He was exactly who you want to be there when something goes down. This is why we did that shooter conference 10 years ago. We were having a lot of mass shootings, and we pulled together this big conference. I'll never forget the fine folks up in Gardendale helping us pull that together. But it was this very thing. When the world's gone crazy, you have to be ready for anything with your head on a swivel. And it's not enough to just buy a gun and stick it in the glove box or have it in your purse or have it in your man purse or have it wherever you are. You got to train on it because as we talked about a lot, we talked about it through that conference and we've talked about it on the show for years and years. I'll go into it for a minute because I had a lot of thoughts when I saw this video. There's something called normalcy bias, and this is what they'll start training special forces, other people that are highly skilled and highly trained, is that as we operate on a day-to-day basis, we're kind of on a green light. Everything's normal. I pull in the parking lot. I see AJ's car, everything around. You just assume that life's going to go the way it goes every day. You're going to go to Walmart. You're going to go to the gas station. You're going to go to work. Traffic's traffic. You're just kind of doing the same thing. You don't expect to suddenly hear gunfire and a shooter. And in that moment where things are not normal anymore, we're not, our prone position, our default position is not that everything's always going to be this way. We're all on the green light, so to speak. In that hesitation of confusion of figuring out what is going on, what do I do about it, where is my gun, is it loaded, how do I shoot it, how do I pick out good targets from bad, because you've not trained. When you train like this guy trained, muscle memory kicks in, clarity of mind kicks in. You can even train in such ways that keep your heart rate down and to calmly assess the situation to become a good shooter. That guy was a good shooter. You could see it in his posture. You could see it in his reaction, the speed with which he somehow he got out of whatever vehicle he was in. Maintained his hat, though, by the way, AJ. The hat was rocking it. I never could figure out, was that a cowboy hat or like a Crocodile Dundee hat with a feather? Anyway, he had this hat on. And homeboy engaged, that's SOB. And thank God, because what we don't know is how many people did the shooter intend to kill. What was his motivation? Why did he target those people in the Tesla? All that just went away the minute there was no gun narrative to exploit. Because a good guy with a gun taking out a bad guy with a gun is the end of the left's arguments against guns. They just can't use the story, so they move on. Black kid kills a black kid. It's not a story. What black kid winds up dead around a bunch of white kids? Huge story. You see the bias. You see the unprofessionalism in the way things are focused on, and it's just the news has kind of been that way for a long time. So this story died, and I've been looking all morning, going, "Who was this punk? Why in a place like Idaho, Idaho? I have to do it every time. Why would a kid go off and try to shoot the place up?" The other thing to know about Idaho is, like the rest of the Mountain West, this is these people live. These people are hardcore, decent. They're civilized. You would never know how deadly they can be when you just interact with them. But every one of them live a very that's a dangerous part of the country to live, and they're armed to the teeth. Not in that cocky walk around with a revolver strapped on your hip kind of way, but in a I'm going to look out for mine. I don't need anybody else to provide security for me. I'm an independent, free person. I live out west. This is our lifestyle, and it's almost expected. There's a funny scene, one of the funniest scenes in the movie Hell or High Water, one of my favorite movies. And this guy goes in to rob a bank in Texas, and one of the old guys in the bank just immediately pulls his gun and starts shooting at at the bank robber. In the movie, the bank robbers are the two lead characters, actually. Um, excellent watch if you've not seen it. But the guys run out of the bank after getting shot at by one of the customers, and they hopped in their stolen car. And he goes, "Damn, I hate Texas," because the Texas guys don't mess around. I had a memory about the culture out there, and I haven't tried to talk too much about it since we got back, but it's one of the things I love being out there. It's the countryside, it's the mountains, it's the air, it's all those beautiful rivers and streams. But it's also the people that I enjoy being around. And I had this one memory. I needed to go get something. We had these two bikes that we took, and we'd bike around some. So we had parked our bikes in Buffalo, Wyoming, one of the places I did a show. We were there for the weekend, so we went downtown to do some downtown stuff. And I, my wife was having breakfast, and I decided I left something. I can't remember why I had to leave and come back. Oh, I know what it was. I was dealing with my Jeep and a tire issue. So long story short, I had to leave and come back. So I came back. It was real hot that day, and I pulled up to the bike rack, and I'm standing there fumbling with my helmet, trying to get this weird bicycle lock out, and just trying to get this thing around. It's a weird lock, and it's new to me, and I'm trying to figure out the lock. And this one guy just walked by me, and I heard him go kind of like that. It was that of contempt. I'm like, what's that about? I mean, maybe he didn't like me parking my bicycle right here. I don't know. Then the next guy comes by right after that. He goes, "You really think you need to go all the trouble to lock that thing?" And it just washed all over me. He's like, they don't lock their bikes around there. They don't have to worry about it. Nobody's going to steal your bike. That's a civilized, decent part of the world where everybody kind of understands what's expected of each other. And when something goes awry, they're ready for that too. And I sense that in this Twin Falls story. That fool picked the wrong place to unload in public in a place like Twin Falls, Idaho. All right, there's enough of that. Dude, we got deaths from this cyclospora outbreak. We got people I got a whole list here. We got people having to put metal cages around their air conditioners in Atlanta so they don't get stolen. What? Speaking of stealing stuff, I got stuff. We got this grocery store fiasco in New York City to get to. The local GOP wants open primaries. There's a danger in that. I want to talk about it. I'm not in sync with these folks. We'll get into that too. Stuff going on. Stuff going on tomorrow and this week. Of course, we got Trump. We got Iran. We got a raging stock market and dropping oil prices. Everybody's optimistic again today. We'll see where that goes. And your phone calls too. 545-9950 Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Back in a minute. All right, 222 as we bop along on this Monday afternoon. Ox Foundation Solutions coming out to help me with my project a little bit later. I think we're getting close to their portion. We got to run a bunch of other stuff, but the portion of the house that we're working on is going to be in a crawl space as opposed to the rest of the house, as opposed to the rest of the house. And so naturally, that 100% needs to be encapsulated and dehumidified and all the things you need to do to keep all that stuff from underneath the house from coming up into the house. And that's what Ox does among the many things they do is encapsulation. So if you're in a crawl space and everything's kind of damp or weird under there, it's not too late, even though you may have had some issues with mold in the past. Just stop it in its tracks and let them come and do it. And I know it'll be done right. Mine's going to be it's going to be fascinating for me to watch them work and get that stuff under there. It's such a tight space, which is another reason there's no way I could do this job. AJ, I wouldn't be good on a ladder up on a roof like my man Greg Nelson, and don't put me under a house. I've done it, but I don't enjoy it. Let Ox do it. And of course, they do the water removal. If you got stair step cracks in your cinder block or your bricks, if your foundation is slipping, I guess one of the bigger projects they do is encapsulation, where they'll come out and, leveling your house with those helical piers. So there's all of it, even concrete and sidewalk, sort of driveway and sidewalk leveling. If those things can crack and shift just like your foundation and get ugly and become a trip hazard, they've got solutions for all this stuff. So let's start with everything: the cracks, the water intrusion, removing the water, encapsulation, mold removal, driveway and sidewalk repair. These are the folks to handle all of that. It is oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. One of the things that's popped out at me, these stories today are not in any particular order. And of course, if we get some breaking news, we'll drop over to that. But this situation with the New York City grocery stores is just a slow rolling disaster that all of us that understand mathematics understand just going to be a calamity for folks in New York City where they put these things. And even the hypocrisy of it has already started. Just in no place in the history of mankind has government ever been able to deliver any goods or services cheaper than the free market can. It just cannot. And so you've got these Mamdani socialist types that keep insisting on they're going to try it. This time it's going to work, as opposed to the last 100 years on every continent on the planet. So this time he's trying to fulfill a campaign promise of discount grocery stores run by the city. And he's going to attempt it just to get them off his back, but it is going to be abysmal. Number one, they're thinking that they can charge 30% less than what the other grocery stores in these areas charge. And if you've ever been in New York City, particularly Manhattan, where it's all jammed in there, you can walk 2 blocks and there's more people in those 2 blocks crammed in there living in these high-rise and sort of mid-rise buildings than I had in my hometown. I mean, you could probably take one New York City block and it's bigger than my whole small town. So if you think about it in those terms, and that's the way I kind of see the world sometimes, is in those kind of units, 6,000 or 7,000 people is enough of a population to sustain a grocery store and a couple banks. I was thinking about the businesses. We had a hardware store back in the day before, corporate chains took over everything. And so within that block, there will be a grocery store every 2 or 3 blocks. They call them bodegas. They're tiny. But they got pretty much everything you're looking for. But it is. You ever been in one of these things? Mm-hmm. I mean, it is tiny aisles. Everything's jammed in there. I mean, even the way they put the bananas out is so precise to make room for everything else. And it's expensive as all get out. So folks don't go to the store like us and get a big old shopping cart, load it up full of stuff, throw it in the car and haul it all home. Because of the space even in their own apartments, they have to go to the grocery store a lot more regularly than we do. My son, for example, and his wife, they almost every other day, they're walking down the street, and you carry your own groceries. You just carry them home. Some people have little carts, but you get what you need for a couple of days. You carry the bags home to your, no doubt, apartment, and so you're in there all the time. These things are convenient because of location. If you're going to carry that stuff, it needs to be within a few blocks. And so here's what happens. Here come the city-owned stores, and they'll pull it off for a minute. I mean, they'll be able to subsidize this stuff and spend taxpayer money discounting the items to the point where it undercuts these bodega owners and puts them out of business. They're already under pressure from rents, taxation, rules, inspections, the mafia. I don't know. They got to deal with everybody in that city. To have some little tiny little 1,500 square foot corner on a block where your population that you serve is right there. These grocery stores are going to run them out. And then the grocery stores are going to fail because they can't make a profit. Without profit, the store can't sustain itself, period. It can't grow, it can't change, and the city ultimately can't afford it. And here's the bigger thing: anytime you throw out free stuff, people are going to go rate it, they're going to go take it, they're going to line up and try to get it free or discounted, right? So they're going to have an overexposure to people trying to get in there. So what is the city going to do about that? They see it coming. So here's what they put out there, and here's the punchline. This is the funniest thing I've seen all day. They're gonna make you bring an ID to prove you're a New York City resident to get in the grocery store. An ID. The same thing we've been asking for to secure the vote. Not only that, they're verifying your citizenship, basically. They're verifying that you're actually live in New York. So suddenly they're for it. They're for you being who you say you are, and here's our invisible line, and you either live here or you don't. Oh, that's an immigration argument. It's an ID argument. But here's the thing. These sons of bitches would have you not use an ID in an election so they can steal the election so they can get in power and do more of this stuff where they'll turn around and require an ID. Oh, you got to be legit or you're not in our group. You're not buying cantaloupes here, young man. You're from Alabama. Back in a minute. All right, y'all get back in here. Leland Live, Talk 99.5, Floor Tech Coatings. Next up here on the show. What a remarkable product I've learned in life as I've gotten older. There's some things you just can't go cheap on. You just got to do it right. And that's obviously true of things where you invest in your home, you make some improvement. If you cheapen it by trying to take a shortcut or not doing it correctly, it's just you're going to pay for it later. So when you do a project, do it right. Use the best people, invest in the right things on your home. It's always worth it in the end. Has been my experience. And one of those things would be Floor Tech itself. It is a concrete coating company, and y'all know what I mean when I say that. This beautiful decorative material that is both functional and beautiful for your concrete floors, that gives them a tint or a color, kind of a pattern, but at the same time protects them from oils and stains and the things that will seep in there and start to break apart that concrete. Easy to clean, durable if you use the Floor Tech product. And here's the catch. Kevin at Floor Tech and his team, here's a locally owned company that's going to change that whole industry, I believe, decided that the products keep failing. He had been in a similar business before and saw how these things would eventually yellow and peel and fade in the sunlight, which was my experience with a project I did years ago, and decided, well, they needed to study the products themselves and see what was wrong with them. And to put it simply, they just found out they were thinning out the products. Most of the manufacturers of this kind of stuff were thinning it out with solvents and other things and making the product fail over time. And to be honest with you, in a lot of cases, as long as they sold you the 5 gallons of whatever, they didn't care. It was on you after that. FloorTech's taking a different approach. They took the impurities out. They're selling and installing a pure product. It's going to last so long, they're coming at you with a lifetime warranty. I said a lifetime warranty. That means it goes with your house. As long as you own the house, you can sell it with the house and it's transferable, which is, in that respect, that's more of an investment. It's putting money in there to beautify something in your home that's going to have a guarantee that goes with it. That's how you want to get this done. If you've got raw concrete floors anyway, you ought to consider having them coated. It does. Somebody told me years ago, especially if you got a personal garage at home, that if you do anything to lower your stress in life, among all these tips, one of those things ought to be have a neat and organized garage when you pull up. Because that's the first thing you see when you get home, man. You've been tired all day. You're dealing with buttholes at work. You just got through traffic. You drive up and your garage is just stuff's falling over. It's a mess. You see projects you need to take care of. It adds to your stress. A beautifully organized garage, especially with this Floor Tech product, just makes you feel welcome to be home. Something to think about. FloorTechCoatings.com. Put a K in there when you spell it. FloorTechCoatings.com. All right, let's see what else I want to get into. I'm still laughing at the New York City bodega story. I mean, that's just, I love hypocrisy. I love when these people, these double standards, and speak out of both sides of their mouth. Don't get me wrong. Republicans do it 100%. They do it all the time. It's the signature of their party. And speaking of that, let me just switch and get on some of them. The Democrats have chaos right now with the socialism thing, and they're about to nominate a socialist in the state of Michigan. The polls are indicating that this Islamic guy that's running up there for the United States Senate is likely to win that nomination. And what was funny was I was listening to analysis about that today. I'm just going to do some politics with y'all for a minute. I was listening to the analysis probably on Fox, had my headphones on, doing the tractor work this morning. And I kept hearing them say, the heartland, this is the heartland state of Michigan. The socialists, yes, they can win in New York, but could they win in their own party in the heartland? I'm like, there's nothing heartland about Dearborn, Michigan. It looks like the rest of the Middle East. There is such a concentration of Islamic people that have moved to that area that they have political clout. Same thing in Minnesota, where all the Somalis have congregated around Minneapolis. Dearborn, Michigan, and the suburbs around there they've hit critical mass. You don't need 51% to have critical mass in either party. You just need a core base. And y'all, that goes back to our own. We just celebrated our 250th anniversary. Only a third of the people that lived here in the colonies even wanted to fight that war and oppose the king. Another third, based on all reasonable data and opinion that was available in our historic readings, you had about a third that was ambivalent. They just didn't want to get involved. They were running their little businesses. And then you had the loyalists that were absolutely sworn allegiance to the king and didn't want any part of it. A third of that population changed the world. They flipped a superpower and created something new that had never existed in the history of mankind. Rather than a top-down government, it was more of a bottom-up government. Well, it lasted for almost 250 years. We're starting to let it go. But the truth is, it doesn't take a full majority for a population to move in and start to encroach and impose its values, which is the general nature of the threat of both these this weird alliance of communism and Islam. They both have a common enemy, so they're using each other right now. Eventually, Islam will kill the communists. That one, they're killers, and two, communism always fails on its own. So you see the approach. There's sort of a battering ram that are being used in cities like New York, and now we see this Michigan race. So the Democrats have a problem if this guy is going to. They're going to continue to put this forward in the actual mainstream America. New York, the state of Michigan, while has been flipped before, Trump did it, but it's as a state got is heavily biased toward this Democrat candidate in their party in their primary. Now it's believed the Republicans are going to go on and win that race if they put up this Yahoo. But it's the state that we're in right now in Michigan, watching this go down, and this you'll see a lot of talk about it tomorrow. But then here come the Republicans. And I'm watching this weekend. They had a huge event here in the state of Alabama. I've been to this event many, many times over my career. I just don't choose to do these things anymore. But it's always nice to see old friends. And they have they'll have two big dinners a year. They'll have a winter and a summer dinner. And then the next day, they'll have a business meeting. Sometimes it's the same day. Well, they'll vote on things that nobody reads. They have a platform and nobody knows what's in it, but they're damn serious about it when they're voting on it. I've sat through all this stuff so many times. They will fight tooth and nail over the exact words that are in their platform, which are their beliefs, then go get elected and not stand up for any of the beliefs. They'll just get elected to try to stay elected. So the knock on the Republicans is, and I've got some deep stuff about this to tell you, is that they're just ineffective, and they're doing something right now that I think could wind up shooting them in the foot. And I'll get to that in a minute with the idea of closing off the primaries. But generally, you've got two parties that have two things going on that are, I believe this country is shifting away from the two-party system. And let me just explain. The Democrats are being hijacked by the socialists. The old guard will never let that happen. But the socialists are out raising them. The old guard are old. They're lacking in energy and imagination. And they're not speaking to the problems. They've spent most of their careers spinning with their consultants, and they're not going right at problems. Now, pause right there. The Republicans, on the other hand, are pretty good at defining the problems, but they're terrible at acting on them. They don't understand power. They get in power in this lollygag like they have in the United States Senate in this term. And so their base is upset with them, but right now Trump is he's the hijack candidate. Trump has done to the Republicans sort of what the socialists are wanting to do to the Democrats, is make them talk plainly to people and actually try to address things. My problem with them, I was listening to one of them talk today on a newscast, and to be honest with you, these kids that are pitching the socialism and are these DSA people, they actually are defining problems that are real. I will give them credit, and they actually see the same problems I do. The fact that Congress is bought and sold, both parties, they just are, as a whole. Corporate America is slinging too much weight, and it's with all these consolidations, we're not living in a competitive free economy like we were. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but we've got a lot of monopolies, especially in the data world and some other places. But their solution is different than my solution. Their solution is in capitalism and try to control everything and run your life. My solution is no, we need real free markets and real capitalism. We need to return to competition and smaller businesses and a lot of them competing to make things better. That's always worked. Their solution has not worked. But what I'll give them credit for is they're calling out the detachment that is the establishment in Washington, D.C., both the Republicans and the Democrats. They both have an establishment. And I've got news for you. They're getting money from the same people. The people that own the system have no interest in reforming something they own. So they let these people mouth off at news conferences. They let AOC say a bunch of stupid stuff. They'll tolerate a bunch of that, even from the Republicans. I'm MAGA. We're going to make it great again. We're going to go in and do all these things, and they're not doing anything. Um, the energy is where the action is. Okay, that's probably a cheap, direct turn of phrase, but on the Republican side, it's where Trump is because he's actually doing things. He's a person of action. He is acting on everything he said he was going to act on. These DSA guys are doing the same thing. You got to respect them because they're getting to a generation of kids that feel that the system has rejected them, and they're offering a foolish solution. They're offering a dangerous, insidiously failed, stupid idea that's rooted in emotion and greed and theft. They claim to be fighting greed, but really what they're offering is greed. Who's more greedy? Somebody that wants to keep what they earn or somebody that wants to take what somebody else earned? I would suggest to you the taker is the greedy one. So we're heading into this clash, and I believe the middle ground of these two parties are going to cease to exist. Now back to the Republicans for a minute. So they moved once again this weekend to close their primaries here in Alabama. And I think there's been a debate about that since the 90s when people were party switching and the Republicans, in order to grow and actually beat the Democrats. Again, they didn't toss the Democrats out of the House of Representatives and the Senate until 2010. Before that, the Democrats, since the Civil War and the teachers union, ran the Alabama legislature and ran it in the ground, ran our schools in the ground. And Republicans come along promising a ton of reform, that things would be different. And they're the only brand that can win in the state right now. And that's a national problem for the Democrats, too. But since 2010, y'all, I can't tell you a whole lot they've actually reformed. This radio show started the year that they took over. And I was all about it and had toiled in the vineyards, helping them with that, and part of my career before that. What a letdown this has been. And so there's been a complete party conversion here in the state. Democrats are almost feckless, both in the legislature. You can't win statewide. They've just spun themselves out. So what has happened? Anybody that wants power now has to put on the red jersey. Whether they believe it or not, they've got to go get on the Republican side and run. And so there are a lot of R's that aren't R's, that are effectively in the party, voting in the party, going to the meetings. So they're trying to turn it into a more exclusive thing. But I'm going to tell you why that's dangerous. And back to the big picture of the country. When you've got generations of people that are disaffected with both parties, if you're going to require voter registration in Alabama, for example, because the only way to have a closed primary is either have a state convention and y'all go meet in a big room and nominate your nominees, which is, I think, probably the best way to do it, or we all get to go to the polls and vote. Right now, the way the system works is the taxpayers actually pay to have the parties' elections. We pay for them to have their elections so we can participate generally and have a say in how the parties nominate. Does that make sense? The state of Alabama conducts the election for these two really private parties. And in doing so, they exclude any third parties. They don't allow, we barely have any way to get ballot access. If you wanted an alternative other than the worn out D's and the charlatan Republicans, you have no alternative party. And if the Republicans want to make it an exclusive club, a lot of people just choose not to register. They're not going to register under that brand. Then they can't vote in your primary, and you've got less participation down the road. Yeah, you got maybe some purity, but what good is that going to do in a general election when people opt out of the primaries because they're not in the club? There are a lot of people, and I know them, they're not going to go register as a Republican. They're happy to vote and have a say, but they're not going to go join your party just to get a chance to vote. In Alabama, if we're going to do this, and by the way, if the Republicans pull this off, and they're welcome to try, they're going to have to change the way the state administers the election. And I say the only compromise is to allow more third party access, is to allow there to be a primary, and there'll be some alternatives during the primary that other people can vote on other than their handpicked candidates. It'll never happen because two party systems have a game put together that they play even nationally. But we're in a weird space where it could. And the problem is there's no formidable third party right now that can get organized and raise money and be competitive, but they don't have access. They rarely have a chance to do that. The threshold's too high. The parties protect themselves. And now they want to wall off the primary or force you to join. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure about it. I don't mean to be wishy washy because for a long time I've just been flat opposed to it. They should be more open, but I do get the argument that they've got to find a way to decide who's legitimately on their rolls as nominees and who's not. And maybe the party could come up with some kind of vetting process, but going to the polls to vote and they want to wall that off and exclude people, where they're going to open themselves up to getting wiped out in the general if things ever change. It's just true. They got to think long run about it. The presumption is they're the dominant party, and if they can have a purity test, then they can hand select their people and still maintain power. But you're going to put a lot of people off that don't want any part of that. We'll just see how it goes. Just had to stitch together a few random thoughts about the state of the two parties this afternoon. Yeah, let's talk about Mandu real quick. My man Paul over there, as we're all trying to, man, it's a constant struggle when you're trying to lose weight or get in shape. Those aren't always the same thing. Sometimes you just want to be healthy. You want to feel stronger. It's not just a weight issue. In fact, if you're just looking at weight, you're probably missing a lot of that. So, along with Project Lean Nation and the folks that right down the street from Indy that can help you eat more healthily and help you take some of the decision making out of that, so you can stay on track. Here comes Mandu. That's a nice component to this, which is the strength part. You got to consume calories and burn calories. And Mandu's an interesting way to go at it. It's electronic muscle stimulation. They put you in this suit. It looks like you're going scuba diving. It's got electrodes in it, and they hook you to the machine, and it's only a 15-minute workout. Your whole body gets juked. Not really. I mean, it doesn't hurt or anything, but each muscle group gets its own flex time on the machine. And when you're done, it's like they say it's the equivalent of 6 hours rather than 15 minutes in a gym. Works all the major muscle groups. You walk out of there kind of stiff and limping, and it feels good. It's that good kind of feeling where you know you're doing the right thing. I think when you get in that loop, then you start making good food choices because you're working too hard on the other. Saves you time. It's very efficient. Y'all go see Paul right now for folks involved in education. They're offering a nice discount through the end of December. And when I say involved in education, it's a lot, man. It's like it is teachers, support staff. He said even students. So pretty nice. It's a 15% discount. So Andrew had a question for Paul when he sent that to us. He said, "Is that just for the month?" Paul said, "No. If you sign up, that's your discount. You get a 15% off rate as long as you stay a member at Mandu." Pretty cool. Take them up on it. If you're in the education world, kind of their way of doing a back to school special. They're downtown Homewood, easy to find, easy to get to, so effective. Y'all see if it works for you. It's called Mandu. You put 2 U's on it when you spell it online. Manduu, Mandu.com, Mandu.com. Man, I was just talking about don't do cheap things on your house. One of those, obviously, I've been telling you for years is don't put a cheap pool on your house. Just don't do it. I'm serious. Don't spend the money if it's not done right. It will cheapen your house. You don't want to just slap something over there that looks sort of like it was just attached, that it's not part of the home. It needs to all tie in and look beautiful. That comes down to me, two things. You got to have an experienced pool company that's good at those designs as well as the pool itself, and that's Distinctive Pools. They do hardscapes, they do pools. You may want to scale down the size of the pool and take a little more of that investment and put it into some outdoor living with fireplaces and outdoor living rooms and little TV watching rooms and all that tie into the pool that make it part of the home. And then you've got something spectacular. You will not be able to wait to get your friends over to hang out with you when you get your Distinctive Pools done. This team is highly experienced, and it starts with, again, their design ideas. They know what'll fit, where it'll fit. They can help you pull all that together with your style, get a budget. Um, Gary Levesque's got he's got some finance companies that can come alongside and help with that too. Y'all, it's distinctivepools.com, distinctivepools.com. This is who you want to come over and start drawing. And even though we're smack in the middle of summer, in the old days, the pool business was really, people try to do these projects in the off months in the cooler weather, but there are no off months if you can enjoy it all year, and you can if you build one of these outdoor spaces. Just trust the best. Look at their website and you'll see what I mean. Beautiful designs, beautiful style. Distinctivepools.com. Distinctivepools.com. I just saw this a second ago. I don't have a lot of details on it. And it's something whose time has come. But apparently over in Atlanta, there is either a company offering this, but there's a new trend in around some homes. People are putting steel cages around their air conditioner systems outside to keep people from stealing the copper out of the air conditioners or whatever they're stealing out of the air conditioners. They're logging them up. Like, when you go in, you got a cold and you go into a drugstore and they got everything locked up now. You can't even just grab some Sudafed. You got to do the whole thing. You got to have this walk of the Green Mile or something all the way back to the. They ever come out and help you? They open up the door, then they got to walk you to the front. I'm like, what the hell? The hardware stores started doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Thieves everywhere. So now they're putting these cages around their heating and air systems to lock them down.
Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, if these people, how hard is it? Don't you have to put a little work in to go take a air conditioner apart and steal it and get the copper out of it or whatever?
You just,
It's some work.
Well, I mean, I don't know how they do it, but if they take some of their ingenuity and apply it to an actual job.
Get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hiring. We'll put you in radio sales, man. You ain't got to steal air conditioners.
Right. Use that time for good use.
Yeah. All right, here's the top of the hour. 545-9950 if y'all want to get on it. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Stay tuned.